Bushcraft 412. We're going to try and refilm this one more time because I'm not liking the way this is coming out. I've never done political type videos before, so this is kind of new to me. And I'm having a little trouble getting out what I want to say, so bear with me here. Before we get into this, I just want to show real quick, and this is my backdrop for this, so this will be a good reminder for you. I got 4 items on this table. These 4 items are all worth the same amount. And that scares the hell out of me. What we got, we've got $2.25. So $2.25 legal American tender, modern American tender. 7 223 bullets. 1 can of corned beef hash. I think I paid maybe like $2.25 for it, maybe $2.50, who knows, but close enough for the purpose of this video. And this little guy is a Roosevelt 1949 silver dime. I got this as change from a store. And this little dime is worth the same as all these other things. And that to me is just terrifying. That we've let our money go so bad, and we've devalued our money by inflation and bad policy to the point where this dime from the 1950s is worth the same as these other things. I find that terrifying, and I hope you guys, really think about this video when we're going through this stuff, because moving away from gold, moving away from money that was based on a commodity was one of the biggest mistakes we ever made in America. And this video is about debt slavery, which is basically what we are and what we're doing here in America now. So here we go. I'm going to throw some numbers at you. First of all, let's look on the federal level. National debt is like $15.1 trillion. We have a national deficit in the neighborhood of close to $1 trillion a year now, which means we are growing our debt by close to 10% a year. Our national debt is now very closely equal to our gross national product, which basically means take everything we manufacture in America, the cars, the boats, the houses, the McDonald's, Burger Kings, knives, guns, ammo, you name it, anything we produce in America, take all that and combine it together, all the service work like hotels and people who provide services like hunting guides and all of that in America combined for 1 year equals our national debt. I mean, in America, we produce so much. And that shows you how big our debt truly is, that it's that close to 100%. The debt is very close to 100% of our gross national product. Scary figure. The latest estimates I've read is that if you take all the unfunded liabilities in Social Security, Medicaid, and all those programs that have unfunded liabilities, which means money we need to pay in that we don't have, the estimates that our debt is actually closer to $50 and $60 trillion because of that, Medicaid and Social Security and things like that need money that we're going to have to come up with some way or form. Right now, if the American government spends $1, we have to borrow 40 cents to make that happen. We are literally going broke, and we're not fixing it. We're not doing anything about it. And that's terrifying, because there is going to come that time when we cannot afford the national debt and the interest payments on it. And when that day comes, we are going to be in big trouble. And that day may not come for 10, 20, 30, 50 years, depending on how we react and how we change things. But if we do not make hard change, we're going under. We're sinking. And the same goes, as much as I'd like to trash the federal government, and the Federal Reserve System, which, hey, that's a whole nother video we're getting into on that. On the family level, we do the exact same thing. The average family makes in the neighborhood of the average individual, the median family income in America is about 45,000. The average, not the average, excuse me, the median, which means the middle, family income is 70 to 90,000 a year. Which, hey, that sounds good, but take a look at what we are doing to ourselves. The average mortgage, the average home price in America is close to $250,000 nowadays. The average car price is $27,000. And I looked this stuff up this morning. They're not exact numbers, so, you trolls out there, you don't need to leave comments that it's not the exact number. These are just, kind of rounded up estimates just to show. The average, I think, what is it now? 70% of people go to college nowadays. Your average, 70% of high school graduates go to college. The average college student loan is $30,000 to $50,000. I'm sorry, the total debt brought on by college students is $30,000 to $50,000. That is a tremendous amount of debt for families that make $70,000 to $90,000 a year. Add on top of that, your average credit card debt per family is $10,000 with a 10% interest rate. Add on to that people pay, $200 and $300 a month for heat for their home. That the average person pays in local taxes, property taxes, $2,000 and $3,000 here in the Northeast a year. Add on to that cable TV now, to have cable and internet in New York costs $160 a month. That your average food bills for families are $200 and $300 a week for families, full-size families. We are, consider it this way. When you talk to your parents and your grandparents about how people lived 50, 60 years ago, what you hear is that people had small little houses, people shared bedrooms, shared beds. Nobody had a new car, that you had to, work hard your whole life to afford a new car. You started out buying junky pieces of car, or junky old cars, and you drove them as long as you could, and then you bought another piece of junk car, and then, after 30 years of working your butt off, you could afford nicer and newer stuff. Same thing with houses. 50 years ago, people didn't go out and buy these beautiful houses in gated communities and all that. People just had houses, and lots of houses went from parents to kids, and they just got passed down, and people continued to live in these houses. They didn't end up buying them, they just stayed in the families. People had gardens and things like that to supplement food because they didn't have enough. Nowadays, we get out of high school, we go to college. We get out of college and we expect a new car because we need a nice, reliable car so that we can get a job. Because your average job doesn't care if you have a piece of crap car and will fire you if you don't come into work because your car is a piece of junk and breaks down a couple times. So, your average person is getting out of college, paying their student loans, buying a nice, shiny new car. They meet some nice girl, they pop out a few kids, they buy this beautiful house, this $200,000 house. We, in America, our standard of living has gone up beyond what we can pay for. And we're addicted to debt, is literally what it is. We want this lifestyle that we can't afford, and these houses and these cars and all that are beyond what we can afford. The average American debt is over $200,000 a year. That's for people who have houses, cars, mortgage, and all that. I mean, you take a house loan, car loan, student loans, add them all together, you're looking $200,000 to $300,000. And that's families who, make $70,000 to $90,000 a year. They're living their whole life to pay off debt. And my grandparents certainly didn't do that. They had very little debt. They had a home that they built, that they paid for with their money they saved. Their cars were things they saved up for and bought. They didn't get car loans until they were in their 50s and 60s. My parents gardened, had their, my grandmother, she canned vegetables, she canned this. They had chickens, they had chicken eggs, they had meat. They ate regularly meat that they hunted. They lived a lifestyle very different to us, and our expectation is completely out of whack with the money we make. I mean, and you can't expect people to live like the federal government does. They just keep spending, 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 and forget about it. I mean, we live in scary times, and the average American family is crippled by debt. Our federal government is crippled by debt. And if you look at all the bad stuff that can happen in America, hurricanes, nuclear disasters, earthquakes, blizzards, tornadoes, anything like that, all those disasters that people prepare for, we're not preparing for the biggest one of all, which is that debt bubble that's going to collapse someday. That we can't keep going on spending and spending and spending, because if you look what that's done to us, this little guy here used to just be worth a dime. Now it's worth the same as all of these other things. We've devalued our money. We've put ourselves so far into debt, no one wants our money. And they buy our debt because they know it's safe, but how long are the people of the world going to buy dollars when we can't even pay our bills? If you're a family and you are $100,000, you make $100,000 a year and you are $300,000 in debt, how long are people going to lend you money for? How far are they going to let you go? And what we're facing is we are literally facing a wall where, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but Americans are going to have to change their lifestyle because we are literally going to, we're going to come to the wall. People are going to stop lending money. We are running to the end, and we have so much debt, and our lifestyle demands that we have nice designer clothes, that we have nice cars, that our kids have nice clothes, that our kids have iPods and phones and iPads and Nintendo Wiis and all these things that we're living so far beyond our means, it's scary. And one day, I think we're going to come back to having to live like our parents and grandparents did. That we're going to have to settle for old cars and junky houses and making your clothes last and patching your jeans instead of buying a new pair because you can't afford a new pair of jeans. I really think we're heading back to that. And what I'm hoping my subscribers get out of this is not just that the government's bad and they're going to drive us all broke and it's going to be shit hits the fan everywhere, but that we really need to focus our time and energy on learning skills and learning to live a lifestyle that will be sustainable, that we can live on the money we make, that we can utilize skills to save money and to be frugal. And I think some of the best skills you can have, if you ask me, would you rather have a pile of gold or good skills? I'd rather have good skills. I would rather know how to fix a car, build a house, or something like that than have gold, because in the end, the people who may be successful 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now are those people who can build a home, are those people who can fix their own car, because what's a mechanic cost nowadays? $100 an hour? My God. And they pay the guy, what, $15 an hour? I mean, we're out of control here, and I think the people in life who are going to be successful can do those things, can make their own stuff, and do that, because we're going to come to that point where greed's just going to overtake us, and debt's going to overtake us, and we're not going to be able to afford the cars, and the houses, and the iPods, and all that stuff. So I think, it's time to kind of get back to basics, and, I hope my subscribers get that out of this, that we need to look at our lifestyles and see how sustainable we are. Are we living in debt and slaves to debt and money, or are we working on being commodity based, that your family produces things, that your family makes things, that your family has capabilities to produce rather than just pay debt? And I hope you enjoyed. I know it's my first political video, and it's not the most organized rant on Earth, but I really hope you enjoyed it. And I'm going to try and do these once in a while now, just to kind of shake things up, because, gear reviews and all that get a little old sometimes, and, sometimes it gets a little mundane, so I want to kind of toss in some new stuff and, reach out to some new subscribers. So, hope you enjoyed Bushcraft 412.